physical battle. Harris had space then in behind. That allowed space for Wilson, allowed space for Ojo. And also, don't underestimate Ojo keeping the game, a wider feeling to the game, playing on his left side rather than his right side, hugging that touchline more. And Cardiff City weren't as narrow as maybe they have been, and it felt like the pitch was bigger. It felt like they played with more space, and yeah, Mark Harris was absolutely key to that.
And you said there already, it wasn't the most sophisticated performance by the team as a whole, wasn't the most spectacular, despite winning 4-0. What he did do was the fundamentals very, very well. 3 goals coming from set pieces. We looked like the side that we did back in June and July.
We did, and those 2 banks of 4 were solid. And I thought you and I again spoke after the game, and I thought the relationship between Will Vokes and Leandro Bacuna was particularly important. I think everyone, local press said it as well. Leandro Bacuna probably had his best game of the season as a right back. He played well, but I think he was ably supported by Will Vokes in front of him, sort of filling that channel between right centre half and right full back, and having the legs to cover in. And I think Bacuna felt sort of empowered and a little bit more protected, and therefore a little bit more released to maybe join the transition and know he had cover in there. So those fundamentals, as you say, particularly the 2 banks of 4, breaking up possession and then using the ball quickly, yeah, absolutely, it was very good on Saturday.
And a word for the manager, he was bold in his team selection, not least playing young Mark Harris, but also conceding the man disadvantage in the middle of the park. Luton play with 3 in there, and we did concede space and we conceded possession because of that. It's going to be the same again this evening. We're going to go with 2 up against 3 regardless of what formation Huddersfield play. Bold team selection again.
I think he was, and he does deserve credit, and maybe this is me just speaking as a fan. I think a lot of time this year, and you and I do an analysis at Ash, we talk about how Cardiff City can stop the opposition. What I liked about Neil Harris, he played with 2 up front and just went, we're going to set the tone today. We're at home. He needed to be bold. He needed a result. The team needed a result, and he said, I'm playing 2 up front. I'm giving a youngster his head, and I'm going to ask him to run in behind and stretch the game, and Vokes and Rawls will have to do the running and cover in. They were ably supported by others, but no, Neil Harris deserves plaudits for what happened on Saturday.
We'll switch attention very briefly then to Carlos Corberán and Huddersfield Town, and despite that eye-catching win on the weekend, 3-2 over Neil Warnock's Middlesbrough, he's actually made 5 changes for this evening. 1 in goals. Ben Hamer returns after a 3-game layoff due to COVID issues. He comes back in between the nets. DeMarco Dehaney comes in to play at right back, and that robs us of the narrative of having Juninho Bacuna, both Bacuna brothers, playing as makeshift right backs for the evening. So Dehaney's going to play there. Christopher Schindler, experienced club captain, comes back in fit again to start at centre half alongside Naby Sarr. And there's also places in the attacking line, or may not be, as we'll speak to John in a second. Matty Daly, though, coming into the team. And also former Bluebird Danny Ward gets the start alongside Josh Coromer in attack. Another former City favourite, Fraser Campbell, drop into the bench to accommodate him. John, a very opposite approach in terms of trying to continue that momentum from the result of the weekend.
Yeah, it's a freshening up. It's maybe more of a European-style manager approach, and having that rotation, I should say. It's an interesting one. I think we've all got, particularly coming off a win, we've got Huddersfield as playing 4-3-3, which they have done in the majority of their games. But just reading the local press coming into this one, the Examiner, which I think is the paper that covers Sheffield Wednesday and Huddersfield, what have you, they had a gut feeling that they might play with wing backs tonight, with maybe Jonathan Hogg dropping in and playing as a third centre back. They played it at Swansea, I'm led to believe, and obviously had a good win against Swansea. So it'd be interesting to see first 5-10 minutes how they set up, whether Karoma, who's the danger man, perhaps 4 goals, scored a worldie to win the game on Saturday, whether he plays off Ward as an out-and-out front man, whether he stays wide as part of a 3-pronged attack. So that the first 10 minutes will be interesting, but there was just a feeling in the local paper that maybe Huddersfield tonight would go with a wing-back formation.
Oh, it certainly bucked the trend of teams who were expecting to play 3 at the back, then suddenly going away for it ahead of kick-up. That would be the case. Neil Harris, as ever, spoke to the press. He was in much happier mood, as you'd imagine, after that Luton win of the weekend. Jubilant spirits, fair to say, and this is what he had to say yesterday ahead of tonight's game.
When you play and you're in a team, you always feel, your standing always rises, your stock rises. And Mark, the last couple of days, come in Sunday and he bounced in the building, and it's great to see a passionate young man who's desperate to do well get a chance and produce. And the reaction of the players after the game, or when he scored, and after the game when he came off behind me, and then when he came in the change room afterwards, says it all really, and everybody really pleased with him. as I said to him when he came off, set the standard, same as everybody else. That's it. Can't fall below that. You are what you are. You're good at what you do. Don't change it. Because that's, if you want to play regularly at this level and above, then that's the standards you got to achieve. Similar outcome would be lovely, wouldn't it? But certainly 3 points would be the demand from me to the players. The players reacted superbly Saturday against Luton. The group will take the praise from Saturday, but that's all it is from Saturday. Saturday's now gone, and that's Monday, preparing for Tuesday. Tomorrow night's all what matters now, and we have to put the same standards, level of professionalism, same ability with the ball and without the ball, as we showed at the weekend, and that's the standards that I expect from my team at Cardiff City every game. Look, we don't want to be 6 points away from the playoffs at present. We want to be right in the mix, but you have to earn the right to be right in the mix. We haven't earned the right so far this season to be in that group. We can look at the 8 games, and yes, it's a hell of a lot of fixtures. I know your point being, Gaz, that we can build momentum and get in there, but at the moment we're just best of one game at a time, and we're focusing tomorrow that if we have to be at our best as we were on Saturday to beat Huddersfield, and then we'll see where it takes us, going into Watford on Saturday. We want to score different types of goals. Teams go through spells of scoring different types of goals. So I think after lockdown, we only scored a couple of goals from set plays in the first 8 games. We scored a lot from open play. And then you sort of also don't score a goal for a while. We didn't have a penalty for 11 and a half months, from Cheltenham, my first game, to QPR, where we've got 2 in 15 minutes. So you go through spells, and set plays, we scored a lot, then we haven't scored, then scored 2, and then a second phase at the weekend, Shea's goal. So I think you do naturally go through spells. Did we change a lot? Well, I'm not going to say too much what we've done different, because people will be listening and watching and reading. But it becomes about, set plays always about delivery, timing and desire. And a little bit of luck as well. So, we nailed it at the weekend. If we're going to be successful this season and continue to be successful in games and periods of games, then we've got to find different ways to score goals. And that's got to be from really good passages of play, moments of magic during the game. So, i.e. dribbling past a couple and sticking in the top corner, or a half volley from 20 yards, for example. Set plays. And obviously the counter-attack as well. We've got to find different ways of scoring goals.
Neil Harris there speaking yesterday to the assembled press, and a very happy Neil Harris, but one refusing to get too carried away. Just one positive result after all, but, and to use one of his favourite phrases, Cardiff have now set the bar, and certain individuals have set the bar in terms of a minimum performance, haven't they? Well,
I think, Ash, that was the criticism and the frustration. There is a belief that this is a talented Cardiff City lineup, but Cardiff City weren't delivering the performances that talent perhaps merited. So the optimism from Saturday, and yes, it is only one result, but yeah, there was that standard hit, and hopefully now, if Cardiff can add consistency to their game, we think, and games aren't won on paper, but we think there's enough talent in this Cardiff City squad to mount that top 6 challenge. But, it's all very well saying that in a press conference, or us saying it in these interviews. It's up to the 11 players and substitutes now to go and make that impression again this evening.
And what he also spoke about, which is what we've touched on briefly, is the fundamentals that Cardiff got right at the weekend, certainly going forward, and set piece becoming important again to this City side, which, regardless of how you want to change the way that Cardiff play football in the open field, it has to be. When you've got Kiefer Moore and Sean Morrison with the capabilities of going to attack ball, and you've got players like Harry Wilson and Marlon Pack that can deliver set pieces, it has to be fundamentally important to you, doesn't it?
It does, and I'm glad you mentioned Harry Wilson, because you can have all the height you want in the penalty box, that delivery's still got to be spot on, and we were spoilt for years with Peter Whittingham, of course, and now Harry Wilson has that same magical left foot, and just the pace and flight of the balls he was delivering on Saturday, I thought, were absolutely impeccable, very hard to defend, and there was variation, and you and I were discussing off camera. We like to break down the nuances of the game as much as our ability allows us to, and it seemed to me that Cardiff, on a number of occasions, were trying to get Sean Morrison away from first contact, maybe get him around the back post, and you brought it up in commentary last week against Coventry. Marlon Pack was maybe attacking first ball. Kiefer Moore, I thought, was attacking first ball on Saturday. So maybe just that variation, and not always being telegraphed that Sean Morrison is the target we're going to hit. You can either use him as a decoy, you can get him to attack second phase ball. So there were a couple of subtle differences there, and it was good to see.
Yeah, it certainly was. In terms of Huddersfield then, and the challenge that we're going to face this evening, they're a team in improved form, certainly. Starting to score goals, crucially. They have scored... they've got 2 wins in their last 8 games, but now all of a sudden they've scored 3 times in 3 games in their last 6. So they're starting to score goals in volume. And is there a sense that the manager's ideas are starting to be getting incorporated?
I think so, and I think when he was appointed, it was very much Huddersfield saying we're going back to a long-term project, as when David Wagner came in. Obviously, perhaps he accelerated it more than the club expected, but they're looking for a culture there at the club, and you know, Danny Cowley, who's now being linked with the Sunderland job, I think he wanted to be an old-fashioned manager. He thought survival in the Championship was probably good for Huddersfield, but they've had a taste of the Premiership, and they've had a taste of the Premiership playing very good football, and I think they wanted to go back to those roots. But it's always going to take a bedding in period, and the manager now seems to be getting or getting his players on the same wavelength, and they have been impressive. And to score 3 goals against the Neil Warnock side, as we know, takes some doing, and they had to come from behind on Saturday as well, so obviously there's team spirit there. So this will be a hard game for Cardiff City, particularly against a team I think will look to move the ball quickly and will look to press Cardiff City whenever Huddersfield are not in possession of the ball.
Yeah, Middlesbrough with the best defensive record in the division going into that game. I think they've conceded 6 goals all season prior to that game, so they've 50% added to that total. The thing you always hear, certainly in the build-up to this game now, because of that result against Middlesbrough, is that they're starting to look a little bit like Leeds. Because Corberan was involved in that setup, he was Marco Bielsa's assistant for 100 games or so at Leeds United. Do they have the personnel to even look like that, or is that a case of the press starting to say that they're running before they can walk?
Well, the interesting thing with Corberan, not only was he assistant to Bielsa, he was also under 23 manager. So it will be good for him. I think he'll start bringing a pipeline of players in. Do they have senior players quite there yet, ready to play his style of football, or have the quality on the ball that they had at Leeds? Perhaps not, but I think already you've seen him looking to bring youth in, from abroad, or players in from abroad he knows about. So it might not be immediately this season, but I don't think that'll bother the Huddersfield board. They want to win games this season. They want to set a style of play and then perhaps carry it on next season. But if they get on a run, we've talked about, you and I messaged on Sunday, 1 win, and all of a sudden we were looking upwards as opposed to looking down, and the playoffs are only 6-7 points away. So you just need to get on a run in this league, and anything can happen, and it's happened at Huddersfield before.
And in terms of historical context, I mean, for what it's worth, you couldn't ask for a better fixture this evening. Cardiff just have a phenomenal recent record against Huddersfield. So unbeaten in the last 13, won 5 straight championship meetings here at home against the Terriers. They've scored 3 goals in 4 of the last 7 meetings. Does it count for anything in this season of all seasons?
I don't think it does, particularly with no fans in the stadium. You hear in any sports, and you and I are a follower of North American sports as well, that you have players who like to play against certain teams because they've had a good track record and it makes them feel positive going into the game. But with such a turnover of players, and particularly at Huddersfield, as they warm up rather vociferously behind us, I don't think that counts for anything particularly. I think it's a strange old season. It'll be about, we mentioned it on Saturday, winning the midfield battle, who uses the ball better, who's better in transition. But I'm excited. I'm excited about seeing Mark Harris again. I'm excited to see Cardiff City playing to his strengths, stretching the game, and then allowing greater space then for the likes of Harry Wilson and Shea Ojo to use their technical ability to hopefully get Cardiff City on the front foot.
Thank you very much, John. Thanks for joining us as ever. Thanks for joining us as well here on Cardiff City TV for live pre-match coverage. We're about 13 minutes or so for kick-off, so time. Don't forget that if you are watching us on YouTube, you've got time to go and switch yourselves over to the Cardiff City TV feed to watch that game. This evening, commentary of the game comes from Mark Denham, myself, and also new head of academy coaching, David Hughes. First up, we've got an interview with Alex Smithies here, where the Cardiff goalkeeper, of course, former Huddersfield man himself, talks about his view on some of the sloppy defending for some recent goals, which is an interesting viewpoint, and also on facing his former club and some of those ties that still bind him to them.
It's always nice playing against your old clubs. You always want to beat them. It's nice to see some old friends. It's a really good club. Obviously grew up in the area and supported them, so the club does mean a lot to me. But we beat them last year, I think, in both games, and it's always nice to get a little bit of grief from my friends who are still fans. I'm fully focused on beating them, as we did last season. Everything I'm hearing about them so far is they're playing a really nice style of football. I think the manager's got them playing in a very specific way. I think it's quite similar to the way that Leeds played, with the manager having been at Leeds. So we sort of know what to expect from them. But it's going to be a tough game, and looking forward to it. Getting the win the other day was massive for us. It gave us a lift, and it means we can go into this game with a bit more confidence. But it's all about following it up and getting a string of results together, and it's a great opportunity to do that at home tomorrow. No one makes an error on purpose. Everyone's trying to do the right thing. I don't think there's one factor that causes that. I think we've been unfortunate that when errors have been made in games that we've not scored enough goals to get something out of the game. So it's just one of those things. Unfortunately, they've come all at once, and I think we are unfortunate in that individual errors have cost us points this season. But like I said, no one makes a mistake on purpose. We're all trying to do the right thing, and certain teams will be making individual errors but score enough goals to get a result. And unfortunately, we've not been able to do that. Ultimately, it's the players that go out on the pitch and get the results. So it's us that should be held accountable, in my opinion. I think all over the pitch, we could have done more to get more points on the board, and we just need to knuckle down now, focus, and start racking those points up.
Back again. Oh, different delivery, but it ends up in a goal. Will Bolt with his first league goal for Cardiff City.
It's the ball up on the goal line, needs some help in the field. Zohor finds Rawls, lovely return ball to Zohor inside the box. Squid ball, goal! And it's Joe Bennett. What a wonderful strike that was. Oh, what a goal! It's Peter Whittingham of old. It's Huddersfield 1, Cardiff City 3. Peter Whittingham with his second of the afternoon, and it is a textbook postage stamp free kick.
Absolutely vintage Peter Whittingham. Just down top. Back to the box again, a lovely turn, and as Murphy kept himself onside, he has an opportunity, and he's taken it. Beats the offside trap, lifts the ball beyond Lurzel, and Cardiff have the lead against the run of play.
To purchase a pass for live matchday coverage on Cardiff City TV, visit the official Cardiff City FC website. Once logged into your Bluebirds Club account, navigate to Club TV and select Buy Packages. Select the pass you wish to purchase and click Buy Now. Next, fill in your payment details and click Submit Payment. Once your purchase has been successful, you will see this message. You can also check your purchase by clicking the Manage Your Subscriptions button. You now have instant access to live matchday coverage. Visit Club TV and select Live.
Moore's free in the box, 1-0.
Live streams begin 1 hour before kickoff, and recommended desktop browsers are Mozilla Firefox and Google Chrome. You can also watch or listen on the go via the official Cardiff City app. For technical support, email cardifftvsupport@streamamg.com.
For more behind the scenes content, download the Cardiff City Google extension for your home browser.
Welcome back to Cardiff City TV.
Tomlin over the wall and into the goal! Cut back to Rolls, and Rolls fires home.
Follow in your heart, in spirit, in soul. You make every tackle, score every goal.
Well, good evening, and thank you for joining us once again on Matchday Live with myself, Mark Denham, and our special guest this evening is former Cardiff City defender and now Academy Head of Coaching, David Hughes. Thanks for joining us, Dave. And I think, as we just made our way up to the gantry tonight, what a chance to get another big 3 points this evening.
Yeah, great opportunity to follow up the good performance, good work on Saturday, and equally to reinforce the real positive message of Mark Harris scoring his first championship goal, which is great news for the Academy and bodes well to illustrate the pathway.
How have you enjoyed the first month or so since you've been in here? A whirlwind start to life, plenty of games, plenty of work to be done.
It'd be fair to say I've loved every minute of it. Trying to manage my time effectively to get around watching our under-9s to our under-23s in match situations, in coach practices has probably been the most challenging part. But I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and it stresses and reinforces to me that right through our pathway there's some top talent, and I suppose the job of us in the academy is to ensure that we continue to develop and nurture that, and evidently get more Mark Harris